Okay, Sarah Fisk.
Hi.
Hello. Thank you for joining me on our second installment of building a career in in data. And so, for everybody who's on, if you have questions, post them. In theory, we should be able to see them and we can answer them here. But the reason I have Sarah Fisk on is because she and I actually worked together for what, 3 years or something
Yeah.
at a
Yeah.
at a at a marketing agency. And Sarah's background on how she got into data is really interesting, and it's a path that like a lot of people either can take or have taken. And so she's going to share a bunch of insight in like how that happened, what went well, what didn't. We'll probably talk about things that annoy us in the agency world and marketing analytics and just data in general. But her path to getting here is a path that a lot of people can take. Because keep me honest, Sarah, you don't have a formal background in data or statistics or any of that stuff, right?
Oh, no.
What'd you go to school for?
I went to school for communication studies.
Right.
I, to the last minute, didn't declare because I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I was really enjoying just keeping that still open and broad. So having that communication studies degree did that for me. And then minored in journalism and mass communications. I knew that I really liked the advertising route, but didn't want to pigeonhole myself into one vertical when I left college.
Yeah, which is about as far as you could get. If you just say the word communications, it's like
It's no
in
numbers.
journalism, it's like as far as you can get from statistics, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
So that's why like this one is important, because a lot of people don't like quite understand that they want to be in this analytics world until later in their career. And so how about we start with, well, you and I met at a marketing agency. You had already been working there. Why don't we start with like just a little bit on your background in the pre-analytics world, kind of what you're working on, some of the advertising stuff and client management things. And then like, what was it that made you want to get into this data stuff?
Sure. Yeah. So I started my career at a really small agency in Kansas City, and it was more of a lead gen focused agency. I was doing more analyst work there, and I didn't know that going into it, but I got to learn a lot of Excel skills. I got to learn how to deal with difficult clients and really found myself enjoying that, but wanting to be exposed to a more full services agency to really help expose myself to the things I was missing at this current one. So I moved to a different, smaller marketing agency and was actually started on the client side. Was there for, a few months on the client side, and then
So let me stop you.
Yeah.
The client side meaning like managing clients, relationships.
Account management side and all that. So did that for a few months, and then as what happens in agencies and business, things change and shift around. And so with that shift, I shifted over to the media side of the agency and got to learn all of what goes into media. So the media buying, negotiation, the planning, reporting. That's a really big part of media. And as I remember very, very clearly one day sitting at my desk, and I was working on a client wrap deck. And I remember working on the charts and the graphs and the visualizations. And I remember thinking, in PowerPoint, of course, wow, wouldn't this be great if this was a job? Like if this was something I could do full time, not knowing that this was a thing, because it was just a developing career path for a lot of people, right? It wasn't something that was broadly advertised to me as this is a definite thing you could just focus on. So that's when I started raising my hand like, hey, I think I'm really interested in this one part of the media function. But we didn't have that department or team at the time at the agency until, of course, you came on. And then I think you got tired of me poking you enough that you finally caved and let me come over and really pursue this passion that I had found on the media side. And from there, took a crash course in Tableau, a 2-day crash course with Ryan Sleeper of Playfair Data. And just started learning all of the data stuff from you, some of the vendors that we were working with at the time, and just going in and learning it and doing it and trying and learning and trying and learning and growing.
That's awesome. So you have been in like the analytics space for what, 5 years ish, something like that? After you made that transition? Okay. And it was all, there's probably a little bit of like Excel work and reporting, but it was a lot of like I guess I would call it the more traditional side of marketing, right? And advertising, which it's funny because that actually isn't too dissimilar from my path. Now mine happened a long time ago, only a few years out of college, but I was doing traditional marketing stuff. Like this was back when MySpace was a thing. I was managing a MySpace page for a big automotive aftermarket manufacturer. I was the guy sending press releases overnight the night before to magazines. I was like looking at our ads in the magazines, and it was kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
I like got exposed to this data stuff, and at the time I didn't know what that meant. And then I honestly, my story is completely discombobulated after that. But yeah, that makes total sense. So when you first started, I do remember the Tableau training with Ryan Sleeper. So if anybody is like looking to get into Tableau, I mean, I don't know if you would agree. I think he's the guy to seek out and do some of the training.
Yeah, I cannot speak highly enough about Ryan Sleeper, his whole team. They're just incredible. Just really great resource. Aside from the live training, they have a full slew of blogs that they post and workbooks you can download and just learn back in engineering. Like they're great. Great resource.
Yep. The other thing that, if I can brag on you just a little bit, the other great thing about Sara is, and I've talked about this before, in the analytics space, you're always doing stuff that you're not qualified for, right? You're always like running into a problem you've never seen before. It requires a solution you've never built before. And one of the great things about you, which I think has made you a successful analyst and helped you grow your career, is almost the inability to say no to a problem, right? So you came in and you learned Tableau, and we did a bunch of work in Tableau, but then I do remember a Domo project came up. So for those of you who don't know, Domo is I don't know that you would say it's like Tableau, but it does similar stuff. And
it's an all-in-one kind of deal,
right?
Or you can do just about anything in analytics in it. And we had accepted a project where no one at the agency knew how to use Domo. And so that was another instance of someone's got to learn it. Let's just get in and take a crash course and self-learn this tool. A lot of things that I learned in Tableau, I was able to carry over into this tool, but a lot of them weren't. There's always going to be some kind of weird differentiator between the different visualization products or, data loading projects, ETLs. So it's a lot of self-taught skill set, really. Yep.
So important. You're right. You don't have to have traditional schooling to do this stuff.
No.
And in fact, the traditional schooling stuff is really good. And I think especially in the last few years, these programs have gotten a lot better than they used to be. But there is a lot of value in someone becoming an analyst after they already have all of the context necessary on like the lane they're going to be in. So you came from managing like agency and marketing clients, dealing with the media, like how to execute media, how to traffic it, how to target, how it all, like how the cake is made. And then you added this data component to it. The other way to go about that is you learn all the data stuff and then you add the marketing component to it. There's an argument for both sides. So the reason I say this is if you are like in a product management role today or a marketing role today or a sales role or something, you have a ton of context that would be extremely valuable if you just added this tiny little skill set of data to that. And that's essentially what you did.
Accidentally.
Yeah.
This whole path was not planned. I didn't go into it thinking, I know that I want to be an analyst, so I'm going to get all this stuff into my tool set. And that wasn't the plan. I was just learning as much as I possibly could as I was going. And the more you can learn in the different roles and different verticals within your own role, the more well-rounded you're going to be. You're going to be a better employee for the company. You're going to be a better team member because you're going to be able to have a conversation across disciplines where you can see the other perspectives and also be like a translator.
Totally.
I remember there were many times when we would be sitting in a media meeting with the data side and the media team, and they would both be saying the same thing, but they wouldn't be saying it the same way.
Right.
And I would be sitting there going, guys, I can talk right. Both ways. I know what's going on here. Let me just jump in and be that person that's in the middle.
Yep. It's so important. Let me ask you that. So can you give us just a little bit on what the type of work you're doing today? Is it still doing a lot of Tableau work? Like, what's that look like for you today? Because you've left that agency where you got started. And you're at a new place.
Yeah. So I am no longer.
And it was a promotion, by the way, right? You took a step up.
Yes, thank you. Went from like the analyst side and realized that I really miss doing, the data visualization side was what brought me into this interest, and that's what pulled me away from the analyst side again. I really wanted to focus on the dashboarding side and the data visualization side of things. So so my current role, I've moved over to be just hyper focused on dashboarding and visualization. Nice. So now it's guiding and overseeing a team where we're just cranking out all of these dashboards, data vises, and I get to kind of filter through them and say, we should do it this way. This client's not going to understand this. Like, let's add this piece of context in, because I know from my experience of being on the other side of it, what questions I would have in their seat and in their shoes. Yeah. And so that's kind of what my role is today, is just kind of that overseeing, guiding, and still doing some of the work as well, but definitely hyper focused on the data viz side using Tableau.
Okay, that's cool. So that's another really great point. Like, when you think about analytics, it is a giant vertical that you could be in. There's all kinds of stuff you can do, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Machine learning, exploratory analysis. You can get like hyper into the statistical stuff. I mean, I could go on forever, but your lane, it sounds like, you've kind of really gotten into visualization, reporting, dashboarding, deliverables like that. Yeah, sorry to cut you off. It is the visualization side, and like how to get a dashboard together that someone will actually use on a recurring basis. You can, and you've done this, you can easily build an entire career that is very fruitful just around that tiny aspect of data. Yeah.
And it's a challenge, because you've seen it, we've all seen it, where people are very used to the reporting that they have been getting for 10 years, 5 years, whatever it is. It's almost like that Excel report is a security blanket. Yes. And so to tear them away from it, it's really challenging to build something that they're going to use and find useful, and not just keep downloading the data or asking to just, well, can we just go back to this? And it's a challenge. And to be on that side the first time of, well, this is my Excel report, I can slice it and dice it and tell the story I want to tell, instead of the data telling me what the real story is, that happens all the time. And so to have that perspective going into building a dashboard, or to guiding the team on how this dashboard is going to be better used, is really valuable.
Yeah. Awesome. So tell me this, I'm not asking you to divulge any specifics, but what are the annoying things that you have experienced, like navigating either through the tactical work of this world, also in even like running a team? Because in the visualization space, when you're helping others build and do things that they've never done before too, it adds another layer of complexity to that. So what have been the challenging or annoying things through that process?
The data side, it's not clean. And when we want to build a dashboard, we need a clean data set. Yeah. And a lot of these platforms have a lot of smoke and mirrors going on with how they're calculating some of their metrics.
Totally.
And clients, agencies, they want those in the dashboard, but when there's smoke and mirrors going on the user interface that they're used to looking at these metrics, how are we going to do that?
Let me stop you there and add some context. So what we're talking about is, especially in the advertising space, advertisers' number one objective is to get you to spend more money. Facebook ads, their number one objective is to keep you spending money through their platform, because that's how Facebook makes money. selling advertising. So all of the, and I'm saying this because I've harped on these companies a lot throughout my career, and I don't feel bad about it. A lot of the stuff that is reported in there is to help you understand that you should spend more money. They have very little context on if this is actually contributing to your business. And that is like, especially in the marketing space, that is like a real area where data people can headbutt with marketing people, because I'm used to seeing these metrics out of the platform every day, and it's always telling me everything's looking great, and it gives me optimization options and like things I could do better, but on the whole, the campaign looks great. And sometimes when you take a different approach to that and you start, one, rolling in other data sets, but two, just taking the raw data and like analyzing it yourself, it can tell a very, very different story.
Which the raw data can be scary for them to provide. We saw it with some of our, non-social vendors before, where they were very hesitant to give us the raw data, or they spent time cleaning the raw data before it got to us. And that's just a red flag.
Yeah. No one should be afraid of data, and we should all be able to have a conversation, because any, like most insights out of data can be argued either way, especially in the marketing space. Like even if a campaign doesn't perform very well on the surface, there can be glimmers of hope in there, and the opposite can be true. It can look like it performed great, and there can be a lot of glimmers of like maybe it wasn't so great. So I'm sure that in the marketing space, and this is true with I think every analytics role, there's always both sides, and a good analyst is really good at navigating both of those, because 90% of the time, it's not, at least my opinion is 90% of the time, it's not ill intent. Like Facebook ads is trying to make you spend more money on their platform, but it's not necessarily from like this evil place.
No,
they're trying to do the best thing for them and their customers, because in their mind, if I'm doing the best thing for my customer, they're going to spend money with us. That's good for everybody. But there's two sides to every coin. And it's important to keep that in mind.
Absolutely.
Cool. Anything else well, let me add one more point on the dirty data piece. That's another aspect when you have traditional schooling. So in a lot of the programs, the analytics certificates, and even the programs in college, there usually is an answer to the problem you receive, right? They give you a problem. There's an answer for it somewhere, because they're going to grade you on it. In this world, sometimes there is no answer. Which is
frustrating for everyone involved.
Exactly. So that is another thing when we talk about like data that needs to be cleaned, questions that come up. Sometimes there's no solution, and sometimes you might spend 2 weeks on something and have like this tiny little thing to talk about, but it really doesn't answer the question, and that is a reality of this world that you have to manage.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. So if someone was going to, like, if someone was in your spot where you were 5 years ago, kind of thinking about jumping out in this space, they're not quite sure how to do it, what would your advice be? Like, what would you tell them?
Yeah. If they have the opportunity to job shadow someone in that role to really get more exposure to it, I would definitely recommend that. If there's a project that you can take on within your own company or your team that they'll let you just get exposure to it, do it, be persistent. Just because someone tells you, no, this isn't here right now, or no, you can't do that right now, don't give up. If you know that this is something that you are feeling strongly about, or really curious or interested about, you just got to pursue it.
Totally. You might have been the reason I got hired at that agency because you were persistent that something needed to happen. It's possible.
Possible. We'll never know.
Right. All right, cool. We're at 20 minutes. Anything else before we end this that you would say to someone in this world, or like trying to grow their career, trying to maybe move into a role where they have more supervisory type responsibilities? Anything you just tell them? I
would say don't let fear get in the way of your potential.
Cool.
A lot of times, like you said, no one knows what they're really doing, and you're never going to be 100% qualified for that thing you're going into. But if you let fear limit you, you're not going to know. You're not going to learn and grow. You grow the most when you're uncomfortable and when you're in a space that you don't know a lot about. if you can surround yourself with people that are much smarter than you, like yourself, thanks for letting me be a sponge on you for so long. If you can surround yourself with people that are much smarter than you, you're going to succeed. Yeah. You just need to, a piece of advice that I was given really early in my career is see someone that's doing really well in their role or at the company and hitch your wagon to them.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that. Let's end it there. Let's do this again. We'll dig into some more specifics, maybe in the like data cleaning, marketing analytics world on the next one or something. But I think this was super helpful. I appreciate you jumping on.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for reaching out and inviting me on.
Yeah. Talk to you later.
Okay. Bye.